Oh, Lisa, let's be thorough this time, okay? We'll be on a long trip for 6 days. You've got plenty of time. Make sure you clean thoroughly. Looks like you can get plenty of housework practice. Go for it, Lisa. Understood. I will make sure to clean thoroughly. Several days later. Hey, what's going on? We can't get into the house. I figured as much. What does that mean? What is this, Lisa? What did you do? Explain. Where are you right now? What did you do while we were on vacation? My name is Lisa, a 30-year-old part-time housewife. I've been married to my husband Henry, who's 4 years older than me, for just under a year. You could say we're still in our newlywed phase. I had dreams of living a sweet life with just the two of us. That was the plan, until we got married. After deciding to get married, we purchased a house and started living together. At first, everything was going well, but then we ran into a problem. Lisa, what's for dinner tonight? Honey, what did we have for dinner last night? We had curry last night. It's summertime, so something light would be nice today. Something light, got it. The problem we encountered was that my in-laws started living with us without our consent. We never discussed living with my husband's parents. We bought the house intending to live there, just the two of us. And yet, without a word to me, my in-laws decided to make themselves at home. At first, they just came over and stayed on weekends, but it escalated and they brought their own furniture and started acting like it was their house. It'd be nice if my husband said something, but with him saying things like, Mom, are you feeling the summer heat? Are you okay? Dad too? I'm worried. I don't hold out much hope. I didn't realize until we got married, but my husband acts like a child in front of his parents. He has no opinions about his parents living in our house without our consent. I've tried talking to him about it when it's just the two of us. Hey, I didn't hear anything about your mom and dad moving in. Our house isn't big and we won't have enough rooms when we have a kid. What are we going to do about this? You need to explain and get them to move out. All my husband had to say was this. What are you talking about? We can just move if we have a kid. I think mom and dad would be happy to live with their grandchild. I'd be happy to live with everyone too. Not only does my husband not see any problems with his parents living with us, but he seems to be happy about it. It's hopeless. I gave up on having my husband explain to them. I blame myself thinking, why didn't I realize this before we got married? My husband lived with his parents until we got married. I only visited his parents' house once when we went to introduce ourselves before the wedding. So I had no idea what his lifestyle was like. I had no idea he was such a mom's boy and a daddy's boy. Living with his parents, all of a sudden, is stressful enough. But there's even more piled on top of that. Hey, Lisa, there's nothing I can eat for dinner today. Can you make something else? Isn't fish, boiled vegetables, greens, and soup okay? I'm not in the mood for fish. I wanted meat today. My mother-in-law is acting like a princess. She's always had something to complain about, this or that. I don't have any meat right now. Oh, is that so? Let's order delivery then. My mother-in-law started ordering luxurious hors d'oeuvres, not the sort of thing one would usually order on a weekday. It's fine if she wants to splurge with her own money, but... hello. I'll take one of those luxurious hors d'oeuvres. Yes, you can charge it to the usual card. Huh? My mother-in-law had registered my card without my permission. At first, I was shocked, and I asked why she would do such a thing. Because everyone will eat if I order, right? It's everyone's food expense, so it's normal for you to pay, right? She said, brandishing her own theory. Sure enough, if my mother-in-law orders too much food, everyone has no choice but to eat it. I reluctantly eat as well. But why should it be taken for granted that I bear the entire burden? I can't understand my mother-in-law's thinking at all. And my father-in-law is quite a character too. If you're a wife supporting a family of 4, you have to prepare both meat and fish. Everyone might feel different, right? This is exactly why modern women are so... Oh boy. No, you're the biggest oh boy here. Of course, my father-in-law doesn't scold my mother-in-law for her wins. On the contrary, he seems to agree with her and blame me, pushing his stereotypical views onto me. They are indeed 2 peas in a pod, I suppose. Modern people just can't do the simplest things, can they? It's a real problem. Good thing we have delivery. That's right, there's such a variety of delivery these days. I'd rather have delivery every day than Lisa's home cooking. My in-laws seem to enjoy making fun of me. Even though I'm covering their food and living expenses and even the money for this house, why should I be made fun of? Anger was bubbling up inside me, accumulating. Because my in-laws are in the house, I began to feel that being at work is better. Fortunately, my work was going well and there was talk of a promotion. I was asked if I wanted to be a project leader and I accepted both. I figured that if I kept busy, my stress from home would lessen. The days when I can't prepare meals have increased, and if my in-laws order delivery, it can't be helped at this point. I prioritized getting away from my in-laws. As a result, my overtime and weekend work increased, but I was lively because there was a sense of fulfillment. Just when I thought I could somehow manage, something happened. On Friday night, I came home after working overtime, and the house was completely dark. It was strange that my husband and in-laws weren't there. It's too early for them to be asleep. As I entered, wondering what was going on, I found a piece of paper on the table. It read, "We're going on a trip. We'll be back on Sunday." What? I hadn't heard anything about a trip. What made me even angrier was that the room was cluttered with delivery containers and bottles of drinks. It's typical for my in-laws and husband not to do housework or tidy up, but they could at least throw away the trash before leaving. I was so angry that I raised my voice. No one was there to hear me. Feeling hollow, I picked up the trash and started cleaning. I sighed as I stuffed the bags with trash. Suddenly a thought crossed my mind. Where the hell did they get the money for a trip? A chill ran down my spine. I opened the banking app on my phone and checked the credit card activity. You've got to be kidding me. A few $1,000s were charged from a company that appeared to be a travel agency. I tried calling my husband in panic, but there was no answer. Holding back my urge to throw the phone in anger, I decided to check my husband's social media accounts, and there it was. Beautiful beach. It's so pretty. A picture of a blue sky and beautiful beach. The people in the photo didn't look American. Could it be? Further snooping revealed that they were in Bali. I had never imagined they'd go on an international trip, and I felt drained. I hate to say it, but my husband's income is hardly substantial. The main source of income is my salary. I have been trying to save as much as possible because I was worried about the future. That was until my in-laws came. The thought of my husband, along with his parents, using my money to have fun at a resort made my anger uncontrollable. All the vague stress I had been feeling started forming into clear words. Why? How? What were they feeling? Until when? Thinking about the future seemed endless. I decided that I needed to do something about this life. My husband and in-laws returned from their trip slightly tanned. I was very irritated seeing them, but I said nothing. We had such a good time. Going abroad is definitely worth it, and the cost for food and stay was cheap too. That's what my in-laws were saying. I held back my urge to ask who they thought was paying for all of this. Let's go again, Dad, Mom. My husband talking with his parents seemed so immature. He was like a child begging for a summer vacation trip, at the age of 35, no less. Seeing him like this, a feeling of disgust towards him started to well up inside me. I was preparing dinner in frustration. Calm down, just focus on the cooking, I muttered, moving my hands mechanically. Then, "Oh my, there's so much dust here," my mother-in-law remarked. She was running her fingers over the leaves of a houseplant. "That's not good." My father-in-law muttered that, giving me a fleeting glance. "I didn't take Lisa because she had housework to do, and you didn't clean? What kind of day off was that?" My husband took the opportunity to criticize me. What? I couldn't help but ask again. "Because if you had done your housework properly all the time, I would have taken you on the trip. I didn't invite you because I was thinking about you with all your housework. Aren't we all, me, Dad, and Mom, considerate?" My husband said this with a straight face. "Thanks for your thoughtfulness," I replied, suppressing my anger. My face twitched, and I turned my back under the guise of taking ingredients from the refrigerator. "Are you out of your mind?" I shouted in my heart. I can't believe it. Leaving the house messy, taking a vacation with my money, and then coming back to say that? The amount of money spent on the credit card I checked while my husband and in-laws were traveling made me even angrier. Did they go to a spa or a really nice restaurant? Even for Bali, where the cost for food and stay is relatively low, large payments were constantly added. How much have they spent without my consent so far? I couldn't help thinking about it. 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. I calculated in my head. Yeah, a couple $1,000s isn't impossible. And considering that they've taken over this entire house, I could estimate even higher. I was totally fed up. Once they got a taste of traveling with my money, my husband and in-laws started going on trips more frequently. My card is being used as a matter of course. But I didn't interfere. For several months, I silently observed the foolish acts of my husband and in-laws. Then one day my mother-in-law said, "We're going to Hawaii. Could you please increase the credit card limit?" "Sure, I understand," I answered. My mother-in-law is completely looking down on me. Does she think I'm some soldier who does whatever she says? Should I buy a new swimsuit? In her ridiculous age, she's flipping through a swimsuit brochure looking excited. Well, she's going to use my money anyway. Just you wait. I glared at my cheerful mother-in-law. She's so engrossed in the brochure, she doesn't even notice. The day my husband and in-laws left for Hawaii, the room was the messiest it had ever been. My husband and in-laws are apparently heading to the airport soon, and they are busily checking their luggage. As usual, they seem to have no intention of cleaning up the room. "Oh, Lisa, make sure you do it right this time," my mother-in-law told me. "It's a long trip this time, 6 days, plenty of time. Make sure you clean up well," my father-in-law orders me. "You'll have plenty of time to practice your house chores. Good luck, Lisa," my husband says cluelessly. What is he talking about? Seeing it was about time, all three of them started to rush. Their chatting and leaving looked genuinely fun. Understood, I'll make sure to clean thoroughly. They probably didn't hear me due to their chatter. I said it to their backs. 6 days later, the day my husband and in-laws were to return home, I was gazing at the night view. Even though it was a weekday, I had taken a rare paid day off and was enjoying a drink in a lavish hotel. My husband calls. I let out a sigh, leave my seat, and answered the call. "Hello?"
"What the hell is going on? I can't get into the house."
My husband sounds quite panicked. "I thought as much," I said calmly.
"What do you mean? What's happening?"
It's not surprising my husband is freaking out. After all, the house is vacant. There should be a for sale sign at the entrance, and not a single piece of furniture should be visible from the windows.
"Lisa, what have you done? Explain. Where are you? What did you do while we were away?"
I can hear my mother-in-law and father-in-law yelling in the background. "I cleaned up just as ordered," I answered nonchalantly.
"What?"
As all three were left stunned, I decided to explain. "I went ahead and put the house up for sale. The land, too. It's completely clean now. Nothing's left inside."
"You foolish woman!"
my father-in-law yelled. "You mean, what foolish thing have I done? Who's been doing foolish things, I wonder? You all sure had a great time using your daughter-in-law's money and living it up."
Lisa, don't be mean. Quickly, change it back. What are we supposed to do? You'll also be in trouble without a place to live, right?
My husband pleaded in a voice that sounded almost teary. "I won't have a problem. The house was bought by me in the first place, and all I did was sell it. I've decided on my new place to live. Yes, the house was purchased with my considerable income. Of course, it's under my name. It was a house to which my husband had no rights."
"How could you? It was our home. How could you sell it without permission?"
To my mother-in-law who said this, I replied, "Please save your sleep-talking for when you're asleep. It was never your home to begin with. You were just freeloading, right? Parasiting off me, right? I've made up my mind. I can't continue like this, losing everything. I need to exterminate and rid myself of these harmful pests."
"How dare you speak to Mom like that?"
The words bellowed from my husband were met with my swift retort. "You're the pest, too. I want a divorce. I'm going to demand my money back, which you've recklessly spent. I've already consulted with my attorney. The amount is..." After I could relay the amount, I heard a loud clatter on the other end. It seemed that my husband in shock had dropped the phone.
"What happened, Henry? What's wrong?"
The voices of my mother-in-law and father-in-law echoed, clearly worried for their son.
Dad..."
My husband started crying like a child. Through the phone, I could only pull back in disbelief. Knowing that any further conversation would be futile, I hung up the phone. Sitting back down, I sighed. It had become second nature to me, but today it was different. It was a sigh of relief. At last, I finally cleaned house. Good job. I toasted to myself, sipping champagne. My husband and in-laws seemed to have no choice but to return to their family home. Well, they had nowhere else to go after all. During the months from my decision to divorce until I actually brought it up, I found out that their home had turned into a hoarder's paradise. When I visited to introduce myself before our marriage, the place didn't seem so disheveled. They must have hired professionals to temporarily tidy it up. Their house had a long-standing reputation in the neighborhood as a hoarder's home. Perhaps a messy house suits my messy husband and in-laws more than a clean one. Though my husband was reluctant about the divorce, he quickly accepted when confronted with my attorney. Sobbing, he even signed the agreement to pay me back the money they spent. It's not an amount he could easily afford with his salary, but it's only fair since he was the one who created this situation, recklessly indulging in luxuries with other people's money. And so, I managed to completely sever ties with my troublesome family. However, I must regret the fact that I married such a man in the first place. Before we got married, I somehow managed to spin his troublesome traits in a positive light, finding him charming and laid back despite his age. Maybe I was too desperate as I approached my 30s. While occasionally venting about this to my colleagues, I go about my daily work. Will I be single forever from now on? You're still young. Don't say things like that. I appreciate the subordinates who play along with my complaints and jokes. You're right, I shouldn't give up hope. That's right. Would you consider someone younger? Was that a joke? Looking up, I see that my subordinate's face is serious. Don't hoard unnecessary things. Cleaning is important. But maybe, just maybe, I don't need to give up hope. These days, I find myself pondering such things.